This is Isabel, and I'm back talking about working while worn out, how we can still be productive and effective and powerful and beautiful, even when we don't have all the vibrant energy in the world that we would like to have or that we used to have. And by the way, for those of you who are new to me, if you're hearing a sound in the background, that is my beloved rescue dog Mabel, who snores like crazy. And if you ever hear that sound in the background, that's usually Mabel lying next to me, snoring away. And Mabel's a wonderful role model for me of just letting yourself rest a lot and knowing that you bring value to the world by doing absolutely nothing but being yourself. Um, so one of the techniques, the technique I want to talk about today that I think can really support working while worn out is intentionally creating smaller containers for your work. And so by a container, I'm really talking about your schedule, your time frame, how you do your work in the world. And again, in a previous video, I talked about this sort of industrialistic, capitalistic notion, right? That if we're really working, we should be working Monday through Friday from 9 until 5, right? We should be doing about 8 hours of good work a day. We should be putting in about 40 hours a week. And a lot of business training, by the way, is so steeped in that culture. It'll even go beyond there and say, you have to work harder than anyone else. You have to want it. You have to, put in more hours than anyone else. And all those kinds of things that can be really discouraging when you're working with a limited energetic capacity. And so part of what I'm going to suggest is that if your energy and your capacity is limited, that you intentionally design smaller containers where your work happens. Um, Super simple example, and I mentioned I'm just back from a month off, um, but um, I'm still not at a place where I can really do an 8-hour day most days. And so what I'm experimenting right now is the container for my work. I do like Monday through Friday, um, and my goal is to work from 10 to 1. So my goal right now is to work 3 hours, have 3 focused hours a day. And um, I'm picking morning because I tend to be good in the morning. Um, and afternoons are usually where my energy really dips. And so that's the game, that's the intention, and that's the challenge I'm giving myself. Now, I might still need to modify that day by day, but and I'm only on the second day of doing it, so I'll let you know how it goes. But that's just an example of creating a smaller container for work. If doing your work the way you've been doing it feels like an uphill climb, or I used to do it this way, I used to, again, coaching example, I used to, coach 20 clients a week, right? And you can't do that anymore. Then scale down the container. Now there are implications of this, but see if you can give yourself a smaller container. I also learned a really good lesson about 21 years ago when my son was born. And before he was born, I was pretty disciplined about working Monday through Friday, you know, most of the day. And after my son was born, um, I just, I couldn't do that. And what I started by doing was I came back to work 2 half days a week when my husband was available to take the baby. And then I think I did 3 half days a week, two mornings and one afternoon. And then I eventually ramped up, particularly after my son was old enough to go to daycare for half or all of the day. And what amazed me was I reduced my hours by more than half, and I was actually able to keep my business going, working much, much less. Um, and yeah, there were some things that got left out, and I'm not saying it was perfect and smooth, but I discovered that really the essential things I needed to do could fit into a smaller container. And I'll talk about that more in another video, kind of cut out the fluff, right? And the beauty and the challenge of a smaller container for your work is that you have to really cut out what's not essential, and you have to up your ability to identify what really is the essential work of your business. So that's what I invite you to consider today is, could I actually, again, give myself permission to work less? It might not be my schedule. It might be you only work afternoons. It might also be, given how your energy patterns are, that you work 2 days a week instead of 5 days a week. But just consider giving yourself that smaller container. And that does require some trust and some belief that you can still be effective, that you can still do great work, and that you can still um, have a business, right? And serve an audience and do your work and bring in new business working fewer hours.